Greg, what do you think? Or have you given up?
I've given up. Yeah.
Don't
I
bother
have
with
an answer.
computers or the internet. That's just
Exactly.
bad. You know what I mean?
You are what you are at this point, Greg.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Let him live his life, man.
I don't think the internet's ever going to really catch on. You know, I'm counting on it being a fad that I really don't need to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things, you know, like these NFTs. Well, I mean,
Yeah, what is an NFT?
don't even bother learning.
Exactly.
I keep trying to figure out a way to apply NFTs to the Greg Cote Show podcast, and I just can't do it.
It should have a crypto sponsor.
Yeah,
It should.
whatever that means, it should.
Yeah. For now.
On Cinephile this week, which is out today, we discuss what is the greatest invention of all time.
Oh.
Huh.
We were making the argument for air conditioning.
No.
But there's a lot of nominees.
I mean,
AC,
the wheel.
Planes.
The toilet's pretty great.
electricity. I mean,
I don't think the toilet is in the top 100.
Electricity's a little broad.
I mean,
Like, I'm with you. It's a good
okay,
one. though.
I have a question for you. And,
Outhouse.
and I have a question for you, and I guess
sports.
Adnan. Ooh, sports is good.
Thanks.
What's the difference between
Instant replay.
Red Zone channel.
Thank you.
what's the difference between an invention and a discovery? Because you didn't invent electricity.
Yeah, you discovered it. That's very good.
Right. That's why I said it was more. That was too broad. While that is something that was created, I'm thinking of more specific items than things that are crucial to our existence.
Like a pen?
Well,
Like a pen.
you will hear it discussed more expertly on Cinephile.
No, I think we tackle it harder here, actually. But in passing, we mention it. But that passing is just.
Well, what did you guys
it's
decide on?
It's us rattling off things, and we said a few of the things mentioned, but we said some others. So check it out.
Cups.
I want to get
The wheel.
Adnan pointed out that sporting events on TV having the score up on the screen is something like in the 80s you would
The
watch
ticker.
sports.
Yeah.
And no, like the current game you're watching. You'd
Okay.
be watching
Right.
Royals Reds and you'd have to wait for them to update the score.
Yeah. Instead, you get extraneous information like the length of the speed that a foul ball left the stadium. Who cares?
Right.
Give me the score.
Greg,
How about the first down marker?
wow. That was a discovery,
give
though.
me the score.
It's all I want.
Greg, I was talking
Runs,
to
RBIs.
Yeah.
I was talking
batting
to someone
average.
about the wheel this weekend.
RBI.
Right.
There's no one that got screwed more than the person who invented the wheel and is not getting royalties
That's
to this
correct.
day.
It was a caveman. Nobody knows who it was. Why can't we track him down? Or her,
Yeah,
quite frankly.
him or her, give that person a
Cave
little
woman.
cut of every wheel that's made to this day.
Right. Wheels and tires. Ooh.
When I came in today, Greg Cote, who's a little bit disoriented.
You an owl or what's happening?
I don't know why he just did who. I don't know what
It's because I fed him something in his head
My
and he
bad.
thought I was saying it on air.
Greg.
My bad.
Greg.
But he said a name I didn't know.
Greg, what did
I
you
said
feed
Tom
him?
Wheel.
And you had a proper response.
I was vetting
Who?
the process.
Right.
Is
No,
what I was
no,
doing.
but Greg,
I was vetting his in my ear thing, and I didn't understand it, so I said, "Ooh."
Greg.
Everyone knows it was Zach Wheeler.
There you go.
Wheels up.
That makes sense more than Tom Wheel or whatever Christopher does.
Greg, you're disoriented more and more every week when you come in here on
Especially because there's
Tuesdays.
90,000 degrees in here. Even though I have an air conditioning right at my right knee, I'm going to leave here with bursitis in my right knee because of this air. But it feels good. If only it was on the rest of my body. I would vote AC as the best invention ever, but only on Tuesdays when I'm in this studio. Go on. What were you going to say?
Invented by A.C. Slater.
There you go. Now you're talking.
Stugotz should have said who?
What?
AC Slater. I've never heard of him, but if it's a real name, it's a good
Look
thing.
at what I get
AC
on
Green.
Look at what I get
Yeah.
on Tuesdays.
I should have hit you when you said Zach Wheeler
Yeah.
and the window closed,
Right.
and you felt comfortable saying AC Green. Stop it! I'm telling you right now.
Zach Morris. Lisa Turtle.
You guys realize that what I'm working with on Tuesdays is who, Greg Cote saying who, and what. It's who and what. And
Right. It's like a Dr. Seuss book.
your son just whispered in your ear a line meant just for you, a joke that he was feeding you. And instead of saying something to just him,
Right.
you said who into the microphone. having a conversation with only your son that goes out to a lot more people than just your son.
But he heard it as well, in fairness to me. But the thing is, he said something I didn't understand.
Right.
I was vetting the process. I didn't want to relay his joke if I didn't think it was a qualified joke.
Correct.
Just say nothing.
That's it. All you got to do is be quiet there. Just be quiet. Or you can point to him and ask him to repeat it so that you're not saying who in a conversation that only you and your son are having.
Well, Christopher's gotten off the hook here while I take all the blame, the brunt of it, as I usually do, because he has yet to explain who Tom Wheel is.
Dad, it's a joke. We were talking about who invented the wheel. You always make bad jokes like that. It was Tom Wheel.
Tom Wheel. Right.
You see, but here, let me give you a little lesson, whippersnapper, Junior.
Oh, God.
Oh, I want to hear this lesson.
Oh, no.
Important.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tom is not a funny name.
That's right.
If you had said
Tell him.
Fred Wheel,
Yep.
I would have repeated it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or even Al Wheel.
Al Wheel is
Right,
great.
thank you.
You know what? I've got to
He's
say-
right.
He is right. And
Thank you.
And I've got to side with Cote on this because, Mike, you said you heard the Norm Macdonald special the other day, and one of the things that comedians love about Norm is his word choice. And Greg is very purposeful with his comedic word choices. And the reason he had me crying, snorting with laughter right before we started the show, because as I walked by, and you have to understand, Greg has said many times in the past that he is simply a bad friend. And he's just declared himself such and never tried to work around it. He's just like, I'm a bad friend, deal with it. And we do, and lovingly.
You
Take me as
are.
I am, yeah.
You are what you are, Greg.
Thank you.
Yep, a bad friend.
That is
Right.
correct. And so today, minutes before we started, as I'm walking past the room, Greg lobbed at me, "You the man." And it caught me, and I was struck by the warmth. And I turned around and I asked him, I'm like, "Well, it's very nice of you. Thank you. Why'd you say that?" And he's like, "Means nothing. Weightless.
Right.
Barely better than saying nothing
Yeah.
at all."
Really
I'm
the
like,
most generic bon mot in the whole arsenal.
Weightless was such a guy.
Weightless is perfect.
It means nothing.
Yeah.
I like came back for his warmth. It means nothing. Weightless, barely better than not saying anything at all.
Well, that's
right.
your fault. You should have just accepted the compliment.
Thank you,
As
Billy.
insincere as it was.
Exactly. It wasn't really insincere. It was just
Well,
neutral.
it was. It was weightless.
Yeah, well, it
You
was
went-
meant well.
What an extreme high to an extreme low. Like you thought Greg cared about you for a second, and then you realized weightless.
Well, no, and then I'm laughing, which is all I need from him, which is the beauty of all things Greg Cote. Billy, I wanted to ask you something. This is Mike Schur and Joe Posnanski, when they do their podcast on baseball, they really know a lot about baseball. The podcast is on the LeBatard and Friends network, and they know a lot about a bunch of other things because season 2 of Hacks is great. Mike Schur is the executive producer of that. But Billy, when I'm sitting behind home plate with Stugotz,
Very jealous of that, by the way.
well, and we're watching Sandy pitch, okay? We're watching somebody, and Miami hasn't had many of these, okay? One of the things that Posnanski and Schur talk about is how befuddled Babe Ruth would be out by any middle reliever coming out of a bullpen right now,
He'd be
throwing
terrible.
96 mile
Justin
an hour.
Bohr.
Yes, yeah. He wouldn't even be Justin Bohr. He'd be terrible. Would Babe Ruth be terrible today? Yes, he would. He'd be like, "What is this 96 on the black?" shit?"
Justin Bohr is
Right.
disrespectful.
No,
No, they're similar body
Babe
types.
Ruth Babe Ruth would be a bad baseball player today. It'd be like he'd be up there with a plunger because some middle reliever for the Marlins is coming out throwing 101
This is
miles an
reckless.
hour. No,
I feel bad
not.
for
No,
I feel
it's
bad
not.
for saying Justin Bohr was terrible because he had his moments.
I agree because 99% of Babe Ruth's at bats would have been against a guy pitching his 450th inning of the season. Grover, Cleveland, Alexander. There were no relievers back then. The
Billy,
starters had 48 complete games.
my point is, if you believe in the idea of evolution and athletes are always getting bigger and stronger and faster and whatever, the racing times get obliterated, right? As people evolve and we get faster.
Babe Ruth was the fastest man in baseball. At the
He was
time.
also the fattest man.
I
in
made
baseball.
the fastest stuff. Yeah,
But he may have been.
I doubt it.
Wait,
He took little mincing
did-
steps.
Did he not have stolen bases?
Oh, I'm certain he did. Yeah.
You should not entertain.
Led the
take
league. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
let me
Babe
check.
Ruth is the fastest guy. In
Is the
baseball.
question, would Babe Ruth be bad today? Because I think he would.
Well,
be.
I think we said terrible, but the point that I was trying to make is that as Stugotz and I are watching Sandy pitch from behind home plate, we're watching Carl Yastrzemski's grandson
Yes.
is at the plate, and we're looking at this and we're like, this person has no chance of hitting anything this man is throwing. He will miss his bat by 4 and 5 feet because this may be what we're sitting behind right now watching pitch, the greatest evolution of the pitcher we have ever seen. Like, just, you know what I mean? A guy who will not allow runs in this age as everyone's going up there to hit donks.
I have a rude question that people that love baseball and old timers would not like, and Tim Kirchin would not like this. Which Yastrzemski do you think is actually a better baseball player?
Oh,
That's such a good question.
No. Greg doesn't think it is. He
No,
loves
that's his
Yaz.
favorite player.
Right.
This is
Oh,
great.
my
This is going to
God.
be like arguing with Bob Ryan.
By the way, Babe Ruth one season had 17 steals.
Wow.
See, okay.
Not bad.
All right, thank you. I appreciate
Regular
that.
Billy Hamilton.
Yeah. I mean, back then, it may have led the league. I have no idea.
Really, my point is that dude is so good. Like we don't
But not an ace, according to Chris. Because he hasn't made the pitchers better. Oh, Greg's just learning this. Greg, we had a conversation yesterday where an ace of a staff needs to make the other pitchers better.
why?
Well,
They watch
because-
him and learn.
It sets the tone, though. I mean,
Yeah.
Billy, you're being mean to Chris Cote.
How so?
No, I'll tell you how
I'm
you're
evolving the conversation.
You're not. Chris Cote threw that tepid take out there in the name of content, didn't believe in it at all, and then fled. And you immediately, with a chance to talk about your team, turned it into the straw man of Chris Cote, and he shrunk and he withered at your side. He didn't. But you were going to again drag him down the path.
I was trying to figure out which Yaz was better, but Greg didn't want to,
Well, I mean,
entertain
Carl's
that.
a Hall of Famer. He's the original Yaz. Mike, who took about 45 years to finally elevate to the major leagues, he's had one good season and has sort of regressed since. Nothing wrong with Mike Yastrzemski. He's an okay major league player, but Yaz is elite.
but if I drop today's Mike, into the late 70s, early 80s, would he have better numbers than Carl?
No, I don't think so. No.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Grandpa has that argument made. Now there are examples. You could say, hey, LeBron James would physically dominate Bill Russell. You can make that argument throughout sports history, but not in the case of Yaz versus Yaz.
I was trying to make the argument to Dan when we were sitting behind home plate at the Marlins game that LeBron James would dominate baseball. Today's LeBron James would dominate baseball in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Is that fair? I mean, he would. I mean, they've never seen anything like LeBron James. Imagine him coming up to the plate in the 50s.
Has he ever swung a bat?
Who cares?
But it's
Okay.
not, they are different sports, you guys. It's not like there weren't athletes. What are you ang about?
I mean, they're throwing it up there 82 miles per hour. I feel like today's LeBron James, with his athletic ability, I feel like he'd win a triple crown.
maybe as a tight end, but baseball's like a different sport. Baseball takes an entirely different skill set.
Nah, but
no?
like old school baseball is like beer league softball.
Like the days that Ruth dominated,
Yeah,
like it was
yes.
all keg softball.
Exactly right. Yeah.
People went to the ballpark with their fedora, a newspaper tucked under their arm, and they watched the old Babe go up there and hit the ball a
Yeah.
mile.
Evan
right.
Gaddis would dominate that baseball.
Put it on the poll. Put it on the poll. Would Gaddis dominate the 1920s?
Gaddis.
I think he would. I think you're right.
He would.
Stugotz, Michael Jordan couldn't crack it in baseball.
I
Fair
know,
comment.
but
in the
now
early 90s.
put him in the 20s, though.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, you can keep going back, but Stugotz is just going to make LeBron be great at
I think
everything,
Michael
no matter
Jordan could
the
play
age.
in the 20s for different reasons.
That is one of the other problems with all of the analysis we do of all of Bob Cousy's championships. But I want to examine what Greg Cote is doing here. In the age of baseball is king, when DiMaggio ruled the sports pages, but Ted Williams was a fighter pilot who disappeared while hitting 400.
Yep, hero.
In that age of baseball, Yastrzemski became Greg Cote's favorite player ever,
right.
athlete, the child Greg Cote, this dinosaur before you today. That's his favorite guy. For you to say that his grandson, who does not have a Hall of Fame career, but may indeed be better athletically at anything Yaz related in the history of the family, for you to blaspheme against his favorite Hall of Fame player with a guy who is a good baseball player, but is not a Hall of Famer, he will not let you do that across 70 goddamn years.
You can't do it. Yaz remains supreme. He was and he is my first hero in sports. Yaz and Willie Mays, those two.
Well,
And
if we're going to do nostalgic sports talk, what do you guys think of Riley coming out and threatening you yesterday with doing more push-ups than anybody? Pat Riley came out at 77, and he said when they talked to him about quitting or stopping or moving away at 77,
Yep.
he says, I can do more push-ups than all of you. And if anyone wanted to run up there for a fight, he would have dragged you. Any of you.
I believe him.
I love Riley.
What does he mean? He can do more push-ups than us. Should we challenge him to a competition? I don't believe Pat Riley can do more
No.
push-ups than me.
It means he still has the fire. He is still, he's still in shape. He is
Yeah.
not at the end of his career, even though he's hinted that for the last 2 decades.
That's right. He referred to a dragon still being in his body. I have no idea what that means, but that's a man right there with a dragon in his body.
You're right.
I think I could do more push-ups than Pat Riley, and I say that because
Dad, you are so full of shit.
No, you remember that?
You have not done a push-up since 80.
He's been saving them, yeah.
Pull-ups.
1980.
Pull-ups are tough. Push-ups come easy to me.
Exactly.
Rat-a-tat-tat. You know.
Yep.
You are so full of shit.
Look at Ryan over here shaking his head.
Dan, I believe, probably has a trainer. I think Dan and Riley would be a competition.
It's a 77-year-old man.
Right.
Well,
The Silver Fox.
Pushing up,
But
we did do
if you
something.
work out, if he regularly works out, I'm sure he can do
Does he, though?
25, 30 push-ups.
We did
Easy.
we did something like this with Greg, and he actually performed quite well. That's right. Where he was in that push-up.
It was a
position.
Better than
plank.
you,
He
the
was
plank.
elbow
No, he
thing.
outplanked you.
The
He was
plank.
pretty good at
Yeah.
the plank. It
Yeah.
was a bit
Planking
stunning
it.
to see,
Planking
actually.
it. Thank you.
There was planking it.
Planking
Thank you.
it, not with a drop the
He
G.
found some
Dan,
cheap
please.
position where he was just good. I'm skeptical.
You don't think he can go up and down there?
Yeah.
I will challenge. This show challenges Pat Riley to. I don't believe that he would do more push-ups than me. And Greg Cote is saying you will not do more push-ups than him either.
Right.
Well, I think the point that he was trying to make was that he can do more push-ups than Kyle Lowry.
Well,
Or who
There
asked
you
the
go.
question? Who asked that question?
Ira Winderman.
he was
probably.
telling it
Was
to
it Tim
a
Reynolds?
room full of reporters. It was among them. Well, Tim Reynolds tweeted it. I think
it was Tim Reynolds.
I don't know
All
whether
right.
he's the
I
one
like
who asked
Riley
the
in
question
that,
or not. But they're he's not Pat Riley. I put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Who can do the most push-ups? Pat Riley, Greg Cote, Dan Le Batard, the media room that includes Ira Winderman and Tim Reynolds.
I get everyone in the media room. I get to choose anyone I want in the media room.
I got
Well,
Anthony
he
Chang.
he was saying it to a room full of media people.
Yeah, he
It's not.
was.
I don't know who was in that room, but he speaks once a year, and when he comes out, everybody gathers. So he's challenged Barry Jackson to push-ups.
Was Donovan Campbell there?
Oh, he
No.
probably was.
I take the room.
Was Izzy there?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I'll take his on that
Yeah.
one. Wow.
Well, he challenged the room. Is Pat Riley
did.
a liar? Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Is Pat Riley a liar and a bluffer and a bully? And now the show is challenging Pat Riley to push-ups.
Yeah,
mean,
that
it was
is a
a-
bullying comment.
There was a lot of lies and bluffs in that press conference. I don't think it had to do with push-ups. So.
Well, let's talk about Kyle Lowry for a second then, Mike, because he's telling you always, yes, of course, they're in it for Wales. They're trying to get better. You can listen to that press conference, and he's not satisfied, and he's the guy till the end. He runs the thing, and he's not reckless. Like, he's not brazen. He's willing to take sizable gambles. He's willing to
It's what he does.
make big bets, and he's learned to not be afraid of making big bets. And so he's going to try and keep staying in the game, win now. And in that, he did take out Kyle Lowry in a way that Toronto's organization was like, ooh, that's unseemly. When it's not just the body shaming, but it's combined with he was physically hurt. When Pat Riley comes out and says, yeah, we're going to need to get in better shape there. And this one wasn't spoken about at all season, not in the playoffs. And as we pretend to have these mental health conversations and everything else, we don't really have them. Kyle Lowry spent a lot of the season out for personal reasons. Like, out somehow, secret personal reasons were allowed in a Pat Riley organization where this dude plays for the organization and is not in total shape because he's in and out a lot in a season where that's not usually allowed around here.
Right.
Well, I'm sure Pat had more information than us before Pat decided to speak on it. And I do think that there's a relation to
the hamstring injury and perhaps Kyle Lowry's fitness levels. You can't ignore that possibility.
Well, no, but this is where it gets tied in, though. Toronto is saying, what kind of culture is that? Why would you not be more gentle with an icon? They love Kyle Lowry there.
Yeah,
they're
weird.
Well, but okay, they're
the
Canadian.
Raptors fans have been very weird with Kyle Lowry to the point that, I mean, the fact that I'm not a fan of the player, notwithstanding, it's just I don't like the Kyle Lowry hive.
He's their Dwayne Wade.
Yeah,
he's their franchise's cornerstone.
Right, they love him.
Well,
Yeah.
Yes,
also,
and they should.
Every bit
Right.
of Toronto Raptors' success has had Kyle Lowry in it.
No, I mean he was a
And
part of
Kawhi,
it,
right.
But it was Kawhi.
Yeah.
It was Kawhi.
Right.
Otherwise, Kyle Lowry would be
But-
the worst postseason performer. He is, even though he has a title at that position with that minutes and that volume. He is the worst. You can make an argument that Kyle Lowry is the worst postseason performer, big name, future Hall of Famer of his generation.
But even with that being so, in their considerable failings when it was Lowry and DeRozan, even that was such an immeasurable step up from where Toronto was as a franchise that I understand taking a franchise from also ran even when they had Chris Bosh to even routinely in the playoffs is such a step forward that I understand why that fan base keeps up for Kyle
I think
Lowry.
that Mike's fandom in this regard is super obnoxious because his standard is Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade is the highest standard. He was raised on Dwayne Wade, and that's the standard. And Kyle Lowry, you are not that standard. Toronto will settle for what you are there, our Dwayne Wade, but you are not meeting my standard. Toronto fans are being more gentle about this than Mike is.
In fairness to Mike, I think what he's saying is don't be Dwayne Wade, just be in shape.
Yeah, just be
it.
just be
Right.
Kyle Lowry. You owe it to the Miami Heat franchise, I think. I don't know how they have this famous conditioning test. I don't know how Kyle Lowry passed it. There's a certain level of professionalism. When you sign up with the Miami Heat, you sign up for conditioning hell. And he wasn't there. And frankly, by the end of the season, I understand the hamstring injury is important, Greg, but I didn't trust him. I didn't think he had the guts. He had the gut. He
And
didn't
you
have the
really
guts.
needed him. You really needed him, Mike. You did. He disappointed
right.
you.
No, that's true.
That deserved the Hakeem Nicks laugh. Give it to you. Give it to yourself there. He had the gut, not the guts.
He wasn't better than Gabe Vincent down the stretch. You didn't trust him more than Gabe Vincent. Gabe
Well,
Vincent.
Spo did. Spo did. You didn't. Spo did.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, he tried to play them a lot towards the end of that stretch, and I think Gabe Vincent's defense was a lot better than Kyle Lowry's. Kyle Lowry was a thorough disappointment throughout the postseason. Yes, he was hurt, but it got to the point that him being out on the court hurt this team more than it helped.
Right. All the and I'm not a big analytics guy, but all of the metrics say that Lowry was a bad defender other than taking charges, which he was third in the league. But I don't think Riley comes out and plays the conditioning card, the lack of conditioning card publicly, unless the franchise has done it privately ad nauseum. I think there was a frustration in what Riley said. Now, he was giving Lowry a pass by mentioning the personal issues. That was an excuse available
But it's
to
not
Lowry.
what I would say to you. Does that not matter? When personal reasons become personal reasons so private, and the examination is this much of a hyper examination of body and mind, all of it. How are you physically? How are you emotionally? Personal reasons. What do you mean personal reasons? Pat Riley doesn't tolerate people missing practices. Pat Riley's now running an organization that can barely practice because the churning machine of the last 3 years is like, get to the next game, get to the next game, get to the next game. So they're just running them through this pipeline. And again, Kyle Lowry's missing work. He's got a contract, he's got personal reasons, and he's missing work. And we never find out what the personal reasons are. And I'm sure some of the reporters in that room that Pat Riley is challenging, I'm sure they know what the personal reasons are on him and Jimmy Butler. And as a courtesy to the organization, they are not reporting what those and as a courtesy to his humanity, because you don't want to embarrass someone who wants to be out for personal reasons. You've got somebody you're hyper-examining his performance, who might have been brought in as a missing piece.
I don't think I'm hyper-examining. I'm not applying the personal reasons. I think that's a hyper-examination. I'm just examining. He was bad. He was hurt, and I think that carries weight in this conversation. But also, I'd like to explore why he was hurt, because this is an organization in its past. Shaq into shape. He made their fitness levels until he didn't, and then he was gone. Dion Waiters got into shape under this organization, and then he got out of shape, and he was gone. Kyle Lowry has once in his career had a body transformation where he got into good shape. So he is capable of it. This isn't a career-long thing. It's a vast majority of his career. But in year one, he showed up not looking like he could pass that conditioning test, and it only got plumper as the season went on.
I do think it's fair to wonder at this point in the offseason whether signing Lowry, given his age and his conditioning, whether that turned out to be a successful signing or not, and whether or not they should have him back. I think that's a legitimate discussion.
It's interesting to me that Whitty defended Kyle Lowry from the standpoint of, like, he's the Raptors fans guy, but you're kind of like the first one to criticize Dwayne Wade. You know what I mean? Like, you've kind of had to go at Dwayne Wade, but you're kind of criticizing...
Unfairly, I might add.
You know? You're basically saying he's their Dwayne Wade. Right. They should love him no matter what.
Well, here's the difference besides excellence.
Yet you don't love Wade.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's been criticism. Like, the way we're talking about Lowry
is... We'll get to Whittingham's hypocrisies in a moment as he gathers himself, as he got punched from behind by Chris Cote.
He doesn't know how to feel right now.
He's very conflicted about what he is thinking to himself. Am I an asshole? We'll get to that in a second.
If I can recall, I think when Wade came back, the organization kind of had to go, and he admitted that he was out of shape and he wasn't up to Miami Heat levels of conditioning. I never once doubted during Dwayne Wade's career, during the first run here in Miami, that Dwayne wasn't doing everything he possibly could in terms of preparation and getting his body ready to be the best version of himself on the court. I have all those doubts with Kyle Lowry.
Agreed. And part of Heat culture, by the way, in my mind, as I define it, is expectations and the willingness to make them public, whether it's saying, Hero needs to earn that starting job by being more of a two-way player, whether it's criticizing Duncan Robinson for not playing defense, whether it's criticizing Kyle Lowry's conditioning. I think that's part of Heat culture, is putting it out there and, like, you got to be better because your teammates expect it.
Accountability.
Well,
yes,
correct. You can talk about all these things. I just like that good old sweet Toronto, so much less obnoxious, everything there as a country, than we are here. That sweet, sweet Toronto would embrace loser Kyle Lowry, who really, during the playoffs, has been what Mike says, where it's like, if it's not him, it's DeRozan. Either one, they're both yours. And you've got two of the worst players ever, and they're your most beloved. And congratulations on that, Soft Canada. But you need to be tougher and harder, and so do you, Kyle Lowry, who has been cradled by this country of soft people who built you a shit statue out of styrofoam that you were bringing all over the city, because that was enough for them. No, the real statues are here in Miami.
Damn right.
Where the players are hard, the conditions are hard, Pat Riley's hard, and he can do more push-ups than you.
Pat Riley is hard. Kyle Lowry came to town, and after they got eliminated in that against the Celtics in that Game 7, he said it was a wasted year because he's championship or bust mentality. All right, where do I see the evidence of that? Not in the performances on the court and not in the preparation surrounding it. And I think Pat Riley was right to challenge him. I'm sure he's challenged him privately.
Yes.
If you take exception to him challenging him publicly, I don't think Kyle Lowry is just learning about it with that press conference. They have end-of-season interviews where they go over some of the deficiencies, and conditioning was one of those.
He showed some guts in Game 6, did he not? Some guts.
Where he had the 5-0 run, personal 5-0 run.
Yeah, some guts.
Miami might have lost that game were not for that 5-0 run. Also, they might not have needed that 5-0 run if he wasn't on the court prior to, because he was really bad.
A Dwayne Wade quote in 2018, quote, "I want to get in better shape to be able to do more things on the floor, and I got to get into that shape of this team. It's just a part of the culture, and no one is above that." No one is above that. And Kyle Lowry, for personal reasons and other reasons at the end of his career, was the only Heat person saying that so flatly, was he not? This season was a failure. I came here for the championship. But at the end, his is the body that broke down when they needed just one more body.
Tyler's as well.
They needed one more body, but they needed one more body. Nobody's questioning the shape that Tyler Hero was in, though.
No, but that body broke down, and they could have used that body. In fact, I would argue they needed that body more than Kyle Lowry's body, and it wasn't there for them.
We're not doctors, though, right? Like
groin injury is bad.
It's bad.
But we're making the leap that Kyle Lowry, because he was not in shape, may have been more prone to injury without being able to make the connection that overtly. That's not a fair leap to. I mean, it's understandable. It's an understandable, but we're making the assumption, hey, your body broke down because you're fat and you don't care, and there are some assumptions in that aren't fair to Kyle Lowry.
No, I'm glad that you're saying that, yeah, absolutely. He could have been the most fit person in the world and still pulled a hammy. But you look at the evidence in front of you and you're asking yourself, well, what are you doing to avoid that injury in terms of taking care of your physique? And there's obvious deficiencies
and what if
there.
he says to you personal reasons?
Okay, well, there's next season, and they need to be addressed. And you chalk this season up to, well, this season got undone by personal reasons. We got undone by blood clots, and that's that. I don't understand where you can't exercise, take care of your body, meet fitness standards of the organization prior to the season, but I also don't know the nature of his personal reasons. It's just information to put out there, but at the same time, this is a results business. He's the one out there saying it's a wasted year. If that's the mentality, you got to do better, and Pat Riley said as much.
Yeah, and age age plus
$5.
I know that's harsh.
It's harsh, but he doesn't have a
Thank
cough
you.
button.
Thank you.
It's,
Age
That's a $2.
plus
Like he would have known to
conditioning.
use it.
No, it's
Age
true.
plus conditioning equals proneness to injuries. Any physiologist would tell you that. So it starts with Kyle Lowry. Now, the other cliche is the greatest ability is availability. And if he's not available, whether it's because of injury or personal issues, that's something the franchise has to factor in on how valuable is he to us and is he a part of our future moving forward.
Do you have a back in my day today?
I do not, no.
It's not his fault.
Thank you, Billy.
He has bursitis.
Yeah,
in his
it's
knee.
it's a long story. It's a sad story, frankly, but I do not know.
When was your last back in my day?
It hadn't been that long ago. I think 3 or 4 weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Keep
Yeah,
in mind,
3 or 4 weeks ago, you were out for 2 weeks.
well, keep in mind, I missed 2 shows.
Yeah.
In the
Personal
two-
It's been
reasons.
months.
Personal
No,
reasons.
reasons.
Personal
Yeah.
It's been
reasons.
months.
Yep.
You haven't done one in months.
Right. I'm out of shape with personal reasons,
Exactly.
like Lowry.
Yeah.
I know this,
And he
it's-
hasn't
it's
had a
why-
back in my day in a
it's
while
why
yet
I
either.
brought it up. It's the reason I brought it up because an old player playing hurt at the end's got a care maximum, says Greg
Right.
Cote, who never does his job, the one job of back in my day.
Well, I don't think it's my only job.
Is there correlation between his poor performance and his health?
I am happy to have him here for this reason today, and this expertise is necessary because this room is uniquely qualified to settle something that I believe that we as a show can vote on and the public would trust us with this very highest of honors, which is there are 5 Hall of Fame nominees in football. 5. And I don't believe they should all get in.
Really?
The nominees are Ken Dorsey, Ray Lewis,
Duh.
Bryant McKinney. Do you owe him money or does he owe you
E-Mac.
money?
I'm not certain. I don't know. I think I owe him money.
That's a big man, Bryant McKinney.
I think that's a
Wow.
safe assumption.
But I have a show idea for him, so I'll make it up to him.
He brought an artist on to sing Sports
Free
Bang
Beauty, yeah.
Yeah.
on Sports Bang.
Great artist.
They've since parted ways.
Did you pay her?
No. I mean, I gave her a platform. CBS on Saturday morning.
Damn right.
It wasn't exactly. Like, it was more of a surprise than anything that an artist showed up with.
Right.
Brian
You guys
McKinney,
hadn't
yeah.
planned for it as
No,
I thought it was
no,
just
no.
going to be Brian.
Billy,
Yeah,
Billy,
yeah.
this is what I'm telling you. People would sign up, Billy. I'm telling you this. I'm promising you this. If somewhere in the internet space you would put 5 minutes of your secret Sports Bang stories, I'm telling you that people would eat up the producer stories of you and Stugotz and side
Those
deals.
are for the tell-all when everything falls apart.
Okay. The other two
Billy and I
are
have discussed this.
the other two are Larry Coker and Mark Richt.
That's 5.
That is 5, and I leave it to the room here, room of experts. I believe that South Florida would allow you guys this room to decide that has who are the Hall of Famers in that group through the last era of football that mattered, at the University of Miami, plus Mark Richt.
I think Dorsey's a lock, right?
What Hall of Fame
Yeah.
is this? The UM Hall of Fame?
No,
Or?
the National College Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame.
College Football
Yeah,
Hall of Fame.
It's the big one. I would vote all 5 in, honestly. And I'm a person who thinks Halls of Fame admit too many people, but I think all 5 are deserving because it's what you do in college. It's not whether or not you make the NFL.
But Richt is deserving, but he's not deserving for what it is he did at UM.
Correct.
Right?
He had
Okay.
a long run at Georgia.
Right.
Georgia?
And I think success as an offensive coordinator, too, at FSU.
Right. All that factors in.
Yeah, and it's hard to win a national title. I'd probably leave out Coker, and he has a national title in
Right.
the discussion out of the head coaches. It's really difficult. a certain few just hog them all.
I don't think you can put Larry Coker in this Hall
What?
of Fame.
Yeah,
Whoa.
He won with Butch Davis's players.
if I could cut.
But he won.
Exactly.
Meh.
And
Butch would've
UTSA
won.
also, yeah.
It's not just
he launched the Roadrunners.
Exactly.
it is not just that he won. That he won at an unprecedented pace for a coach at the start of his career. And when I go back and examine it, I'm like, holy shit, what a machine Butch Davis built. Of first rounders that Larry Coker burned through in 2 years, and everyone knows he is not the reason at all that team was winning. He's why Ken Dorsey's in the Hall of Fame.
He
So
went
you-
24-1 though with those
I
players.
know, it's the best start ever to a career. Like Walter Camp and all these people who have their names on trophies didn't start a career the way Larry Coker did.
Walter Camp.
He came out of the box like 33-1 or something, and the one loss, everybody was like, "Oh, come on, Miami was so much better than them."
That's right. Things go better with Coker.
So you have Coker not getting in.
I
then.
do not have him getting in.
Okay.
Mike, do you object?
No, I agree with that assessment. If I'm cutting one, it's Coker. If I'm cutting two, it's Richt. If I'm cutting three, it's Ken Dorsey.
Wow.
Lewis and McKinney, easy for me. Dorsey, probably on the bubble. I think the other two. I don't know how hard. Is this like the Basketball Hall of Fame where it's really hard to get in?
Nah, it's
I've
pretty
even
easy.
I've been to this college football Hall of Fame, and I didn't notice. Man, that's an easy one to get into.
No, it's
But Coker is the weakest argument out of all of them.
They have like 190 people on the ballot. I mean, I know there's a lot of colleges, but it's not that tough to get in. You need, if you have one great season or two
You're
seasons or two great seasons or one championship, you pretty much
Yeah,
are
pretty
in.
much. Nothing shattered my perception of Ken Dorsey's college career quite like watching back tape. I went to Sandbar and they were showing two simultaneous Miami Hurricanes Florida Gators games, and you could, if you would have pulled a teenage Mike Ryan, who's the greatest quarterback in the nation, it was easily Ken Dorsey. That dude's an absolute pro. He's the best. We're the best. Kane's number one. I watched some of those games back, and I was wrong.
He had some advantages.
Yeah.
Well, the best criticism of Dorsey is that he may have been the third best guy in his own backfield. I mean, what a running game.
Well, it's not just that. It's Mike purposely did what he did with McKinney because, what a great comfort to just drop back and not even Dwight Freeney is going to get anywhere near there because he hasn't allowed a sack in a game or in practice ever. No one has ever seen anyone get around Bryant McKinney.
I think McKinney's the most surefire Hall of Famer out of that group, even ahead of Ray Lewis in terms of college.
People have
career.
no idea how good we are talking about possibly the best college offensive lineman anyone has ever seen.
yeah.
And Stugotz, you know how there are only two human beings I've ever been around. I haven't been around Yao Ming, but it's him and Shaq, where people get next to him and are like, "Oh my God, you're really big."
Yeah, his
Like,
feet are enormous, McKinney.
And Kim Bokamper.
There's got to be one player that's like just to this day is like, I got McKinney once at practice. No one talks about it. I got him.
I just remembered that game. Syracuse is coming in. Dwight Freeney's coming into town. He's pretty good at sagging people, and every damn time you'd see one of his feet hanging out of McKinney's navel. Like he just kept getting smothered and stuck. Like he got nowhere near wherever Ken Dorsey was throwing a football.
You got to grab hold of this segment, otherwise I'm going to go off into a path talking about early 2000s Hurricanes.
No, but this one player, this got me to thinking about last night, Mike, because Bryant McKinney was so physically just giant. I was thinking as I see in that hockey game last night, that's
How good Brian McKinney would be at hockey.
no how
Oh.
In the 20s, though.
Goalie.
Oh,
I
my
mean,
God.
Goalie. I mean, the backup goalie for Edmonton that I wanted to see so bad is 6'7". I feel like there's some advantages there over 41-year-old Mike Smith.
I don't know. The 5 hole seems like it would be an
Susceptible.
obstacle.
Yeah.
Susceptible. That's where you
And,
beat him.
and the 1 and the 3.
I don't know how big a goal is, but if you put Bryant McKinney in goal, it seems to me like it would be very difficult to score a goal.
Just stand there. Yeah.
Or squat
Just stand
there.
there,
I don't know.
yeah.
I might be an idiot about this. I might not know enough about hockey to know, because I've thought before a sumo wrestler would also work in
Yeah.
goal somehow.
Right. Jabba the Hutt.
Roy, can we get some expertise from you here on whether or not a sumo wrestler would be
No.
any good in goal?
No.
Bryant McKinney, any good in goal?
No, because laterally, if you pass east-west, you can easily beat him. Like, he's not going to be able to get over to the
You
other side.
can
of the net.
no. McKinney made a career out of not letting people pass him laterally.
Right.
Yeah, and then if I mean, this is not going to be a butterfly goalie. He's not going to be able to protect the 5-hole too.
He just doesn't have to move, Roy.
Yeah, I think
He doesn't have to move, so he can easily slide the puck between his legs.
Nah, the 5-hole, yeah. That's what I said.
I would sign a 1,000-pound woman to be my goalkeeper. And all you got to do is teach her to lift her arms to cover the high holes. Because her girth is going to cover the whole goal mouth. She owns
Why
that
wouldn't
area.
it be a 1,000-pound man? Why
Well,
did you
equality.
have to make it a woman?
Right, because
Yeah,
I want
exactly.
a woman.
Equal rights,
I
yeah.
want a woman to have
Women
that
can play
chance.
hockey too, Dan.
Right.
Women do play hockey.
How rude.
Look at how rude of LeBatard to assume that a
Jeez.
1,000-pound woman can't play goalie.
Yep.
Ridiculous. Backward thinking.
I mean, block aside, like the blocker in the stick, that's pretty heavy to try to lift up and stop a puck that way. So
Is it for a
Yes, it is.
1,000-pound woman?
yes.
Okay.
Roy's so sure about all these things. How do we know?
Well, you want to try it out?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hire a sumo wrestler and get him on the ice. Let's see what happens.
There's probably a reason no one's ever done it, right? I mean,
That's what they said about the wheel.
I love
You're
how
right.
Yes.
we're like saying like we're thinking of something original. Like we should think of maybe get a really large person and put him in goal. Like I think they've probably tried this.
as Edmonton refuses to play the 6'7" goalie.
The goal's wide, man.
Well, Mike, talking about hockey from last night, was it Zach Cassian who had like that face of hockey look of he's smiling after a goal, he's tied a game late, desperate playoffs, and it's just a gap-toothed smile where you're like, oh my God, there's joy, and also he doesn't have very many of his teeth because that sport is nuts.
None of them have teeth. Even the ones that have teeth don't actually have teeth. They're all fake.
And
Have you watch Wayne Gretzky try to speak? It whistles.
my question, I was wondering about this morning as we talk about load management in basketball, and I wondered, because football is the most brutal of them, but in terms of how an athlete's body feels, I know they've got padding on there, but there's such speed, and there are no Bryant McKinneys. There are not many Bryant McKinneys out there.
Did you watch any time that they would show Leon Draisaitl was a Hart Trophy finalist alongside Connor McDavid? They have two phenomenal offensive talents. And any time they showed Draisaitl, who had 4 assists in the game, was a great player, didn't score goals, but was a tremendous player for them in their 4-game sweep. Draisaitl would be in such agony every time they showed him. And he went in, I think he had injuries to 3 of his 4 extremities. And in that game, he took like a puck straight to the small of his back. And you could just see on his face, it got him where there was 0 padding. Every time that dude would sit on the bench for what was 37 seconds at a time, because they were playing their top line the entire game. He was in such extreme agony. That game is so brutal on the body. There was one time that a Colorado Avalanche defender took a puck full speed to his glove, which was protected, but you could see his fingers exploding within the glove. Like he went to the bench and his hand was limp. He's probably going to play the night.
But he finished the shift.
Yeah. Incredible.
He finished the shift.
Incredible
His fingers
toughness.
exploded inside of his glove, and he kept playing.
hockey player.
My question to you guys is the body the next day, as we examine the humanity inside of the padding. What do you imagine the sport the next day? Football's got to be worse, but I got to thinking last night watching some of those collisions, even with the padding. They're just the speed of everything, and the athletes have gotten so good. They're such good athletes, and they're so big and strong and fast. And I'm like, oh, that can't feel, no matter how young you are, that cannot, a hockey season cannot feel good at this point after you've had to buzzsaw get to here. Buzzsaw get to here. I can't even imagine what those bodies feel like. Like
Imagine you're sacrificing your body, and Mike Smith is back there behind you. I'm telling you, what was happening to Connor McDavid was like Dan Marino getting just totally betrayed by his defense and running game. Connor McDavid should really demand more from that franchise because their best option was a 41-year-old malcontent. That if you're bringing in the veteran, I'm so mad at Mike Smith. I don't know if you can tell how much money I lost
it's
because of Mike
it's a
Smith.
bit unreasonable.
There was
because
some Western Conference
you were
game
betting,
losses.
you were betting on this is the best player in the world. He's about to show it.
Right, and he did several times, but in a 4-game sweep, they lost games 2 and 3. Games 2 and 3 is really where they lost the series because they laid eggs. But game 1 and 4, those are performances that are enough to have this series tied 2-2. They brought in a 41-year-old journeyman goalie to be the veteran presence, and your soothsaying veteran presence is out there throwing hockey sticks in the middle of the game. It's just, what are we doing? Put in the 6'7" guy.
I always find it interesting during the exit interviews to find out exactly what the injuries were for these players. Like Darnell Nurse He played with a torn hip flexor throughout the entire playoffs.
Jesus.
Like that's
Hockey
the
is all
dedication.
hips. It is all hips. I don't understand the toughness from these players. It can't be worth it. It just can't be. Honestly, if you win this trophy, touch it, raise it over your head, celebrate it because of what you put your body through. Can you imagine? Your hand has exploded. You couldn't lift the trophy if you wanted to, but that trophy at least represents, hey, I made it through the Western Conference. Look how great I am. And because of a superstition, you refuse to.
I love that, by the way.
Hockey players are super impressive to me. That's why they have so many lines and shifts, is because it's so grueling. Roy, the average shift is what, a minute and a half, 2 minutes? I mean, if it were easy, the Barkovs and the Uberdos would be playing 40 minutes a game. Instead, they're playing 25 minutes a game.
So
tough.
you guys agree then that hockey's second, like and it approaches football and how the body must feel after going through the buzzsaw of the NHL playoffs.
I think hockey's tougher than football. Football's once a week.
And it's those two. I mean, I don't think there's
Fair
any.
point, yeah.
Third is way down the list. Whatever. Other
Boxing
than
and MMA is probably there.
Well, I was going to say other
Yeah,
than
but you
the
get months
individual
off
combat
between
sports.
fights, you know?
Yeah.
Football, but with walls on the side.
On swords.
Yeah,
but with no McKinneys. No McKinneys. Like there's nobody out there.
Zdeno Chara?
There's nobody out there who's 335 pounds. There's nobody out there who's 350.
Yeah, but there's big enforcers with beards, and there's no out of bounds.
Look,
nowhere to run or
there's-
skate.
Is anyone in hockey over 270 to like 270? Because
No, there's no way.
there's not. But you say the 100 pounds of difference makes a difference. It makes it when you talk about exploding hands and whatnot in gloves. If
How heavy is Kessel? He's like 230.
Zdeno Chara, who's retiring, he was 256. He was the heaviest of the players.
He
this
was the
season.
heaviest and the tallest.
Other than my 1,000-pound goalie.
I'm seeing a lot of the biggest guys are like 6'2", 6'3", in the 230 range.
Yeah, but you're also coming a lot faster
That's
on
true.
ice.
yes.